we were building trucks, and then I was rock crawling too. Basically, we just drank a lot of beer and tried to wreck our trucks. Like we didn't do a lot. We didn't do a lot of racing in Minnesota, but like the automotive stuff, we found ourselves traveling the country, and there was other groups of guys that were doing the same thing we were doing here all over the country. We were building stuff with tractor tires and military axles and crushing cars and running stuff over, and just a lot. And that's evolved so much. People, they're like, that's the most redneck shit I've ever heard.
Welcome to the Gearheads and Gasoline podcast, where we dive into the high-octane world of market-leading shop owners, shop employees, and automotive enthusiasts from the aftermarket, restoration, performance, and racing industries. So strap in as we take you on an awesome journey with our guests as they share their real-life stories, lessons learned, business advice, and unfiltered insights to help you beat the school of hard knocks. Gearheads and Gasoline, fueling your success.
Hello, everyone. I'm Barry out with Motorhead Digital, and my amazing co-host is Annette Bauer with Annette Bauer Creative. We're super excited to welcome Ron Hinshaw, the owner of North Speed and Restoration, to the Gearheads and Gasoline podcast.
How are you?
Good. How are you?
Good. We're so happy to have you here. Thank you so much for taking some time out of your morning.
Absolutely.
So we always have like this little challenge to see like where everybody is, you know, because Barry is on the East Coast, I'm on the West Coast, and we often talk to people who are somewhere in the middle. Very few times. In the middle. Right. Yeah. Very few times do we get somebody who's either on my coast or directly on his coast. So it's always somewhere in the middle. So you are spot on in the middle. But we're happy to have you here. And we always kick off every podcast with a little bit different of a question. And that is, what is your favorite drink?
Favorite drink? I'm a beer guy, but I usually, if I'm going to have a cocktail, I'll go for an old fashioned.
Oh, you're just like Barry.
My kind of guy. And that he didn't hesitate. Everybody we usually catch everybody off guard with that one. It's like, huh?
I don't know if that's good or bad.
Yeah, no, I'm a huge old fashioned, and in between, if I'm not doing that, I have a beer. Yeah.
Or if he doesn't have that, he has wine.
Or wine. Yeah.
I
like to mix it up, man.
Yeah.
So, Ron, you've been in the industry for over 30 years, and I understand you started when you were 17. How'd you get into the automotive space? What enticed you to do that?
Well, what gets a lot of people into the automotive space is driving a piece of shit car, so you got to figure out how to fix it anyways. Mechanical stuff always worked out good for me. So, as soon as when I started looking for a job, I started looking for something I was interested in, and it always landed in the automotive field.
Did you work on anything at home before you got in the automotive field? Did your parents do anything like that?
No, my parents weren't into anything like that, but it started with BMX bikes. It's Minnesota, so it's winter half the year. Over the winter, you pull your bike in the basement, tear it apart, do the things you want to do, put it back together for spring. It's kind of like a hot rod, different
nice.
Scale.
Nice.
I understand that half the year winter living.
So So then that leads me to a question that may or may not be expected. So, does that mean that you did any ice racing?
I did do ice racing.
Nice.
I race ice on quads. I raced motocross for 10 years. So I did some ice racing, some outdoor, some indoor.
That's awesome.
Only one season of that, though.
Yeah. That's awesome. Like you're definitely our first guest who has said that is something that they do. I think it's super cool. It's very cool to watch. That's for sure. I don't necessarily know that I can't say that I wouldn't do it, but I definitely have to have some practice.
Yeah. You'd be surprised what kind of traction you get.
I bet
it's there. We used to do the one indoor one I did like an amateur class, and they only gave you 100 screws. So,
really?
Yep. So it was more of a slip and slide than anything, and nobody got any traction. Everybody's bumping into each other, but it was an interesting class to be in for sure.
So you all had the same handicap then, and it made it fun.
Yep. And you got 4 tires. You got to decide where to put 100 screws. Do you want to steer or do you want to go?
Right.
You kind of had to pick.
That's awesome.
Our producer, part-time producer, and one of my team members used to race hare scrambles with ATVs and stuff here, right like a mile from my house. They have a racetrack up on top of the hill here, so he used to do that stuff. So that's pretty cool.
I did that for 10 seasons. I raced hare scrambles. So, and then, like anything, I can take any hobby and turn it into a job. I ended up taking over the race series and running it for the last 4 years, and then, back surgeries and stuff. No more racing. So, yeah.
Isn't that funny how we do that? How we like really get into a hobby and then we're like, oh, well, I have decided that I don't have enough to do, so I'm going to take this on too.
Yeah, every time.
Yeah, like starting a podcast, right? Annette?
Right, Barry.
Yeah. So, Ron, as far as going, you went from changing tires, oil changes to working in a restoration shop. Were there any like pivotal moments during all that where you really that changed your direction or thinking on all that?
So I always did hot rod work on the side, and I had a long-term job at a general repair shop, some management in there and stuff too. And that job went away. So I got a different job, and that shop, we had 4 bays, and 1 bay was dedicated hot rod. And at that point, me and the owner of that shop, we went to SEMA for my first time. That was probably like 2014. And we're trying to work more into the hot rod space. But it's hard to do when you got people that want to drive their stuff to work tomorrow too. So the hot rod stuff doesn't get the time that it deserves, and it makes projects take way too long. In that period of time, I kind of fell into a position here, and I didn't even think it was real. Like this shop had been here, in the area I live in though my whole life, and I walked in, I'm like, what am I, in California or something? Like I didn't think it existed, right? I don't know if I was living under a rock or what. So I actually started here part-time because I didn't think it was real. So I actually worked, I think, for almost a year, 6 months at least, 8 to 1, 8 in the morning till 1 in the afternoon here. And then from 2 until whenever I got done, 1, 2 in the morning at the other shop, because I didn't want to bail on that guy.
Right.
So I really didn't think it until it got to the point where the owner of this shop was like, he's like, when are you coming full time? And we need you. So
nice.
Redline Oil, formulated to win, proven by me.
Redline Oil, formulated to win.
Formulated to win.
Formulated to win, proven by me.
Formulated to win, proven by me.
Proven by me.
Proven by me.
Redline Oil, formulated to win, proven by me.
So, with that said, we were in a Good Guy show in Columbus last year, ran into you. That's when I first met you, and we had a great conversation. And you were telling me about how that shop that you started working on, the owner brought you in full time. And at some point he wanted to retire. And one of the big things and why I wanted you on is I want to understand, maybe if you could share some information with other shop owners or people working in shops, I should say, that want to, when their owners age out and decide to retire, if they want to buy that shop, what do they need to think about? What do they need to, how they need to go about it? What things to watch out for? I don't want to get deep into legal stuff, but I'm just curious because I'm sure that was you ran into some challenges. Everybody does with stuff.
Well, yeah, it was a huge process, and it wasn't, it went, because we got along really good. Like it went pretty smoothly. But so, as Roger, we knew he was thinking about retirement. Nobody's going to do it forever, right? I mean, some guys really do try to, but we kind of just came up with a plan. Like, what's it going to be? Like, is it 3 years, 5 years? And we actually, probably about 2018, well, he had some health issues, and I just moved into the office. And when he came back to work, he went to work. So I ran the front. He ran everything in the back. I mean, I still work in the shop too, but I just took over dealing with the customers, and we kind of transitioned that way for quite a few years. And then it's like, the things you got to think about is what you're buying. Is the name worth something? Is the reputation worth something? What's the equipment? So basically, I ended up purchasing the building and the equipment, and the name of the business, but I didn't keep the name. I kept it for a year, and then I transitioned. So
Sure.
you need an attorney. The appraisal process takes way longer than you think. There's EPA to deal with because you're buying a commercial property, all that stuff, all the getting a loan for the building, all teeters on those things. And everything costs a bunch of money.
True. So I think it's your story resonates with me because my husband was in a very similar situation at one point where he worked at a shop for 11 years and he'd known the owner longer than that. And the owner was expressing some like, hey, I'm thinking about retiring. Is this something that you want to do? Do you want to, take over the business? And you're right. Like there's so many different things that there went into those discussions. Ultimately, at the end of the day, we decided not to do it because we don't plan on staying in California indefinitely. So we were like, it's not really something that we want to make that investment in because we know we're not going to be around long enough to see the return, right? But you brought up several different things that you do need to consider, which is again, like you said, not just the legalities of things, but how is the equipment that you have, your clients that are, going to be comfortable with you because they're already familiar with you. Unlike if you have a brand new owner come in, they are like, I don't really know if you're a quality person. I don't know if you're going to try to rip me off. I don't know if you're going to, all those things. So I think it's really cool that you were able to, have that comfort zone, not only with the current people that were coming in as customers, but also like the vendors that you work with, the suppliers, all those good things.
And the employees, like all the guys, I had been doing all the hiring as well. So, all the guys that were working here, like I hired them, they were my guys anyways. Not that they didn't respect the previous owner or anything like that, but, they were in the loop, but not 100% in the loop. They knew it was happening. They didn't know all the details.
Right.
The equipment, again, something to consider is like, say you're looking at the exit, you're the owner of a business looking at the exit. Are you going to buy a new machine 2 years before you leave? Probably not. So you have to take, you have to look at the age of the equipment and what exactly you're getting. And it all gets valued. Another thing to consider, like on the other end, as a, in business, hey, we're here to make money, but you don't want to, how do I want to say that? You're trying to use taxes to your advantage and whatnot. And if you're not showing a profit, you don't have anything to sell. So, when people, buy equipment and everything to cut down on income, to cut down on taxes, if you've done that the last 3 years, when you try and sell your business, you don't have anything to sell.
Right.
So things to think about on both ends are, you have to, they're not going to, the bank's not going to take your word for it. They're going to look at numbers. So,
yeah. So part of the reason that this really interests me is because I met a young man that was working in a shop for years, a badass painter. And his owner was going to sell the business, was going to shut down the business. And I says, well, why don't you buy it? And he kind of, I don't think he was ready or he didn't know how to think about it. So they shut the business down and he went to another restoration shop and he's painting there now. But, there's a big shift too in that mentality from working in the shop, even if you're running it like you were, to owning it and to dealing with all the bills and everything and getting, the customer, you go from dealing with this part of it, right, to dealing with everything. and how to think about that.
Yeah,
And you have to know that going in when you're going to buy it, especially if you're working in the shop, but you're not doing the back end stuff, the books and managing that kind of stuff, but you want to buy the shop. There's even more because you probably don't know about all the ins and outs of that stuff, right?
Yep, and you should prepare for that. I had been doing a lot of that anyways, and I've had a couple other businesses, so I knew a lot. I wrangled my wife into the office for some of it to help out, and of course, it was more than she thought it was going to be too. But we've learned a lot in the last 3 years. If it's not, some people, it's not for everybody. When you own a business, you never clock out. You're always it's always on your mind. You can try your best, but so if and I know this gets talked about a lot, super talented people building cars and running a business into the ground because they don't know that side of it. If you're going to go that route, you want to own the shop, you want to do all that, find someone else to run it for you.
Mm-hmm.
You can hire management. It's a hard time finding someone you can trust, though.
Yeah, that is definitely a big thing. Is that I feel like you're right. From the administrative stuff, the business side of stuff, you can definitely bring somebody in who is more knowledgeable and or comfortable with that, right? While you focus on what your wheelhouse is, but finding somebody that you trust, who isn't going to create more problems than
and communication with clients is super important, right? Like one person needs to talk to if you have too many people talking to the client, lines get crossed and things get misconstrued to like, were we doing this, were we not doing this?
Right.
So in looking for someone to run the front or even answer the phones, the wrong person can put off a client that could have been, a good one or whatever, because those are hard to find too.
Agreed.
It's interesting too that, we talk about a book that I'm a big fan of, Who Not How. People a lot of us try to do everything ourselves. My advice is always, even, I don't care what business you have, get a good accountant, a bookkeeper, and a lawyer, right? Don't try to do all that stuff yourself. Understand it, what's going on, right? But hire the people that know that, because they'll end up helping you. They'll help even guide you in your business and things like that, right?
Yeah, for sure. Even, definitely lawyer, definitely accountant.
Yeah,
That's
those are
very
the two
important.
big ones,
and,
right?
and before we made all these steps, my accountant, I've been using him for 8 years before that. I'm like, well, what do you think? Like he's get me their books, and once I signed an NDA and they gave me their books, I brought him my account. He looked at them. Brought him to the lawyer. He looked at them. Those are all things we got to check out the building and make sure there isn't anything weird with that. All those things need to be checked before you even go to the bank.
Right.
So, Ron, you're going to a lot of shows. As we mentioned, I met you at the Good Guys show. You've been to the SEMA show. How does that help with the growth of your business, especially changing the name and everything and the marketing of your business?
Well, you can be a big fish in a little pond. Like everybody knew the shop in Minnesota, but they didn't really know it beyond that. And I know the first time we brought a car to SEMA, everybody's like, well, where's that shop at? Like they had no idea, So I knew I wanted to change the name, and it was a first name named shop anyways. And if you're going to start a business, give it a name. Don't name it after yourself. You can't sell Steve. If you're Steve and you sell Steve to Jeff, Jeff can't sell Steve. It doesn't, if that makes any sense.
It doesn't work.
But you could name your shop anything as long as you have a good reputation. It'll sell itself. It doesn't need to be that cool or catchy or anything like that.
Especially if it's a business that has a lot of assets, a lot of customers, things like that, things that can be transferred to somebody else, right? And that you can actually sell. And part of the goal of any business is to grow a business, to sell it, make a profit, and move on, right? Whether you're moving on to the next thing or you're retiring, right?
Right.
So think about that, have the end in mind, right?
That was part of the thought of changing the name is I see it out in the future. Have someone draw you a logo if you can't do it yourself, something that people are going to recognize or can recognize, and that'll help. So with that, we started traveling to shows because I'm 50-50 local customers and mostly Midwest. But I feel like there's more out there. You can only build so many for what's around here. And that's the idea with going to shows. The other thing that even local guys, like a client might want to see the opportunity to have you bring their car around for a year and show it at Good Guys or a chance to get it to SEMA. The truck we took to SEMA last year, that was never even a thought, hope in anybody's dream, and it just worked out. I guess I'm not one that thinks of building a vehicle for SEMA, like, oh, it's a SEMA build, whatever. It's more of this one's ready and done. Let's see if it gets accepted by somebody.
Right.
Then it's actually done when you go. Well, mostly done. we all know how that one works.
Right.
The one we took 2 years ago couldn't clear a speed bump, and we didn't know that till we got there. So,
hey, Gearhead and gasoline lovers, this is Jason with AMD. Check this out.
So I have a offhand question for you. I was looking at your website before the show or yesterday, and then I was just looking at it a little bit now. One of the things I noticed across your website is, and this is something that speaks true to who I am and what I do, because I'm a professional photographer in the motorsports industry. So looking at several things on your website, it looks like you have a lot of very high quality imagery, which I think is great because a lot of shops really kind of miss the boat there. But my question is, like, do you prioritize that in your business of showcasing like the work that you do, the cars that you do, having a photographer come out, having that content built for you so that you can use it in places like your website or on social media or when you're, going to shows or whatnot?
Oh yeah, definitely. For sure, the stuff for the website, I had a photographer come out, a friend of mine, actually. That was one of the other podcasts I was on, was his. But I had him come out specifically. That was actually the week before we changed the name. I had him come out. I changed the sign. We took pictures, and then I took it back down for a week. And then we have an open house every year, and at our open house, I just changed the sign in the morning, and everybody showed up, and I'm like, oh, by the way, we have changed our name.
Nice.
Yeah, and I did even, before doing it, I went and had lunch with the previous owner. I'm like, hey, just so you know, like, this is what's going on. I'm like,
right.
How do you feel about that? He's like, you're not going to hurt my feelings, man. You just do your thing. So
he's like, this part of the deal, man.
Yep. No, he was all good with it, and that's important to me. Like I respect the guy I took over for, and I learned a lot from business stuff, but also in the shop. Like, he taught me so much,
Yeah.
So with those high quality images and stuff and owning a business now, you suddenly have to put your marketing hat on, right? You change your name, you change the sign. How does that translate for you to social media and promoting your business in other ways with those graphics, with that messaging, things like that? How's that helped your business?
Well, I could probably do better at the social media stuff. I do all that stuff myself. Most of that comes straight off my phone, which I think a lot of people's does.
Yeah, 100%.
I really should try and dabble a little more in like AI and just see if I can smooth out the editing. I did for 10 years. Actually, I still own it, but I did some off-road videography for
nice.
Mud racing and big like monster truck, mega truck type stuff.
Yeah.
I used to use a lot of Adobe and actually like edit full length videos and stuff, but it's time consuming and I don't really have time for that.
I have my hands full.
I see a point in the future where, somebody could, and I keep trying to wrangle this to my 15-year-old daughter, like, hey, like, here's all the pictures on my phone from this show. Make something of
Do
it.
something with it.
Just something we can post. And it can be a double-edged sword too. If I post too much stuff, the phone rings too much.
Really?
And yeah, and sometimes it's just a distraction.
Yeah.
From the work that we already have to do, or even, and this is one that's happened more than once. I start posting pictures of a build, and another client calls like, "Well, how come you're not working on my car?"
Right.
We are working on your car. We just didn't post pictures of it.
Right.
Even had one recently where I'm working on my own car, and the best thing about my car is I can work on it till 3 a.m.
Right.
It doesn't matter, and I can put as many hours as I want. I know the client's going to pay for it. So you have time to work on your car, but how come my progress isn't getting done? Sometimes we post a social media post and it's something from 2 months ago.
Right.
People don't understand that completely, and it's bit me a couple times. So sometimes we just kind of take a break.
Yeah.
Do you do?
Yeah. You're right. Go ahead, Barry.
I was just going to say, do you, as part of your process, do you keep the customer that your builds up? Do you send them stuff periodically of images and things, and especially if they're not local where they can't walk into the shop, so they know you're working on the car instead of freaking out like that?
Yeah, definitely. Or a lot of times it's specific things like they want to we're working on something specific, wheel fitment or colors, and we'll send a paint sample or whatever. Like we'll send a couple paint samples, but then we'll send pictures too, so they can hold the paint sample in their hand and whatever. And well, sometimes a few of them are secret, so you gotta there you have to send it a certain way or at a certain time so no one else can see it, because they're not telling everybody about what they're doing, kind of thing.
It's secret squirrel stuff.
yeah for sure. So yeah, it's good to keep people in the loop, and with these, where it becomes a problem is you usually don't know it's a problem until you find out it's a problem.
Right. You don't know what you don't know.
If you're seeing someone like every post and it's J572, you don't know that that's the guy who you're building a car for, even sometimes, because a lot of people are just on there. They don't post anything. They're just on there to look at the pretty pictures, which is fun.
That's my husband. My husband is a social media stalker. Like, he literally never posts on anybody else's stuff. He just goes through and likes stuff, or views what's happening, and I'm like, you are creepy. Like, stop doing that.
And my wife's not even on social media, and a friend of ours sent a Facebook thing the other day, and I go, "Did you see your text?" Because I was going to show it to her. She goes, "Oh, I saw it. I saw what it was." I go, "You don't even have an account. How did you even see that?" I was like, okay.
She's like, "I saw the text."
Yeah, she probably has one, but I don't know. So, Ron, as far as marketing in general, have the show? A lot of people don't go to the SEMA show because a lot of cost to it, right? Or they don't go to Good Guys. You go to Good Guys with a trailer and cars and everything. How does that help your marketing? Helped you up your game on that, or is it just something that you really enjoy doing?
A little bit of both, and I get that question a lot. Is someone will come in, or a client will be like, so did you get any work out of that? And it's like, well, I'll let you know in a year or two.
Right.
It's we got a wait list anyways, but it's never immediate. It doesn't seem like it's immediate. And so in Minnesota, one of our biggest events is Back to the 50s. 12,000 cars. We've done a vendor spot there. Roger did it since 83 or whenever he started, or probably in the 90s he started going there. And we actually pulled a lot of work from there. I can tell you for sure we get a lot of work from there. But even a car I'm building in the shop right now, I met the guy at Back to the 50s, and then I didn't hear from him for a year, and then I talked to him for a year and a half before we found a car and started building it. It's not a short term thing. It's, we're not scheduling a brake job. We're talking about a 2-year relationship building a car, and sometimes we don't know if we get a job for years. I've definitely the one thing I have noticed about going to the shows is meeting the other builders and building that network, and then talking with our vendors and stuff that are there. Seems like the more you get to see people in person, if you have a problem or a question, you got someone to bounce it off of.
Yeah, you are 100% right in the statement that you made about like kind of nurturing that relationship, right? Like when you meet somebody and then you start kind of building that relationship, it's just like anything else, right? Like you can't expect immediate gratification. There's got to be that period of courtship, if you will. And it's that period of like getting to know each other, building that trust in one another. And then at that point, when they're ready and you're capable based off of what you're, like either what your wait time is or what your current build time is of things, like being able to say, okay, now we can schedule something to get it in. But it's not like hey, I met you yesterday and today we're going to start a project. It doesn't really work like that.
Yeah, and there's a trust level there, right? Too. I see it in my business. I have customers now that I met 2 and 3 and 4 years ago, and we've had conversations on and off. And suddenly, they say, now we're ready to have you help us run it, right? And I'm sure it's the same with your stuff. Is you have a lead time, right? We don't have that. We can bring customers in next week if we need to, right? But there's still that nurturing. And then in the automotive space and then I've seen this being part of SEMA is it's a big family. Having that face-to-face, going to events, going out for a beer after, it really nurtures that relationship and things like that, and help in the industry as well, too, advice, other things like that.
I agree.
Definitely does. Definitely.
Today's podcast is sponsored by Annette Bauer Creative. At Annette Bauer Creative, we understand the power of visual storytelling in transforming brands and driving growth. From capturing the essence of your products and services to showcasing the unique solutions you offer, our professional imagery and reels help bring your brand to life. Fuel your brand and ignite your vision at AnnetteBauerCreative.com.
I absolutely love that you have a history in big trucks because that's kind of my thing. So I think that's really cool. And I just want to hear just a little bit more about like what you did in that space.
So what I did, we were building trucks, and then I was rock crawling too. Basically we just drank a lot of beer and tried to wreck our trucks. Like we didn't do a lot. We didn't do a lot of racing in Minnesota, but like the automotive stuff, we found ourselves traveling the country, and there was other groups of guys that were doing the same thing we were doing here all over the country. And the next thing you know people all over, and build a network. You got a problem, they're there. It becomes a family. I was hauling a truck from Minnesota to Fort Myers. I think I sold my off-road truck, and my transmission went out in Atlanta. And it's like, okay, who's here? Toot, toot, toot. I had a guy come with a trailer, come get me, order me a transmission. I was back on the road in like 6 hours.
Yeah.
Having a network never hurt anything. We were building stuff with tractor tires and military axles and crushing cars and running stuff over, and just a lot. And that's evolved so much. People, they're like, that's the most redneck shit I've ever heard. Now wait a minute. From the time we started doing that to the time I kind of left that, it went from swapping a body on a stock frame and leaf springs to full tube chassis coil over, blown alcohol. If you don't have if you don't have 500 horse, you got nothing. And if you don't have 1,500 horse, you don't have nothing.
Right.
And that stuff's still going in the racing. So I think it's there's marketing issues there.
Yeah.
They've had a couple shows come out, like TV shows and stuff, but they never get too far because there's no company that will back it. Like motocross, they're trying to sell next year's bikes. Snowcross, they're trying to sell next year's sleds. There is no next year off-road mega truck,
Right. Well, and
So
it's also a
trophy
very
trucks is great, like
right.
that's they can market that, but there's no marketing dollars in that, and it only gets so far, and then that's it.
Right. And but like that specifically is very much without without making it sound bad, it's very much a hobbyist kind of thing, like you're saying,
Yes.
right? Like all those other things, there are things that manufacturers can get behind to put marketing dollars and marketing spend in. But when you're talking about like off-road stuff or rock crawling or whatnot, like there are markets for that, for like we see it in SEMA. But when it comes to manufacturers getting behind that, like wholeheartedly getting behind that, it is pretty like slim. You know what I mean? Like,
Yes.
we have a rock crawler up at our buddy's property that is literally just sitting because we haven't finished it yet. We're like, we want to do it. We've got the vehicle, we've got the chassis, we've got all the right parts, but we just don't have the time or the money right now to, finish it. And I'm like, okay, well, it'll be fun someday.
So one thing Annette doesn't know about myself and Dean, our producer, is back in the 80s, a long time ago when this all started, we both had K10s. I had a 79 K10. I think he had an 81 GMC. And, we put mild lifts on them, but we were doing the mudding stuff. And, back then, you get stuck in the mud, they pull you out with, it was the advent of just starting in with the toe straps instead of chains and stuff. So there was some axles, parts pulled off, pulling trucks out and things like that.
Yeah.
We did that. And, I have a Rebel now with a lift, but I got 2 Corvettes too. So I'm kind of everything, right? It's anything with 4 wheels. What's that?
Lift.
Yeah.
I said, don't let him fool you. His lift
My
is a
lift
baby
is the
lift.
baby lift. And that said, hold my beer, and did like 12 inches or something like that.
It's not.
Yeah, I can't wait to see your truck done in that. But I would really like to get a Jeep and build a rock crawler. I think that would be freaking fun.
Yeah, we're doing one right now for a guy, which is a little bit out of our wheelhouse. It's not out of my wheelhouse, but the rest of the guys are like, so we did a full, it's 4-linked. We did a bunch of stuff with Motobuilt. If you're familiar with them, they do a lot of brackets and things like that in 4-link systems, but we're tucking everything up, highlining all the fenders and 550 horse LS. And it's gonna be really cool. And I hope the guy uses it, but most likely it's gonna be like a bar cruiser kind of thing.
Right. Well, so my husband built, he helped a buddy of his build a quad, like a sand quad. And it has nitrous on it. Like they built it out to be a bad motherfucker. And we took it up to Sand Mountain, which is a big space in our area where a lot of people do that. And, took it up the hill and it was super impressive. The guy who owned it had only been on it like maybe once or twice. It sat for years and then he sold it.
Is it a Banshee? Is it a Banshee?
It is.
Okay.
And then he ended up selling it to another guy, I think. Like super cool. Like I love it. It just like really looks badass. But the guy was just like, it's just not for me, right? It's not my thing. And he didn't really want to do much more with it. And so again, it sat for decades and decades. And then now I guess it's been revived. And I just think it's super cool because it's a badass piece.
You could still ride a 2-stroke in California?
Sure.
For now.
For now. Hopefully forever,
Right.
Yeah.
What they don't know won't hurt them. Shh.
Well, there is no shh in a Banshee.
True.
I got to look that up because I'll be honest with you, I don't know what a Banshee is. So,
twin cylinder 2-stroke.
Okay.
They're very, very cool.
They're very the power band on one of them will put you back a little.
No kidding. Wow.
Yeah. And then add nitrous to it.
Yeah. For sure.
We love nitrous here. I do like that. I did want to, you mentioned earlier that you put a new website up, and I'm going to shift back to the marketing stuff. Has that helped your business? Because we're a website. We do a lot of web builds and things like that and digital marketing. I'm just curious, has that made a difference in your business, or is it just a necessity to get that new website up to showcase your work?
Well, it's been up for like just over a year. I think it helps. I think people can see quality and they know that we're not just some guy in his garage. You know, I think it's important. I still think that more people look at for day-to-day updates. They'll look at your social media more than, you know, but if someone's serious and they're seriously thinking about, you know, spending the kind of budget it takes to build a car like this, they want to see that you're established, and that's what the website does.
Yeah, because there's a lot of stories.
It has a little more backstory, right. And it has, you know, a timeline of builds and things like that. And I was going to touch on this earlier, and I think we got off track. But with the going to shows and SEMA and stuff like that, sometimes it's the local guy. Maybe I did say that wants the opportunity to go to those shows, and right. that itself can, you know, they need to know that you can get them where they want to go.
Yeah, there's a whole market for that, right? Like, so again, for me, like, I build lifted trucks. I'm building one right now, and there is an entire market for people to come out and help other people build trucks, right? Like SEMA specific trucks or other cars, right? Like, there's people and companies that you can reach out to partner with to say, like, hey, this is something that I want to do. Like, I want my truck at SEMA, whatever. Not me personally, but, you know, like, people do hire for that.
Today's podcast is sponsored by Motorhead Digital. Motorhead Digital are digital marketing experts for your automotive aftermarket, restoration, performance, race, and restyling shop. They help you supercharge your shop's website, social media, and entire online presence to attract those badass customers you're looking for. Check us out at motorheaddigital.com.
On those builds and things like that, not to get too deep in the builds, but people come to you and want to build a vehicle for SEMA. What happens to those vehicles after they end up in a museum? Do people actually drive them? You know, I'm always one to say, if you're going to build it and put that kind of money in it, drive it, not be a trailer queen per se, right?
So a lot of times, and I'll see this a lot, is they get finished or mostly finished to go to SEMA, and then you probably show it around for about a year. It's good to show it for like me or a builder to show it around, because we're putting miles on it while we're doing it, and we're finding those little things that go wrong, because there's always little things. There's bugs, things got to get worked out, and then when the client takes it back, or sometimes when they come out to the show, they drive it at the show, and then you just kind of take care of it. Then yeah, they drive them. Like, I know the one we took in 23, the Firebird, he called me and I'm like, oh, he's probably, you know, maybe he's got a problem or something. He's like, Ron, this thing keeps getting faster. You know, so
okay, that's a bad problem.
Me and that client became really good friends throughout the process. And the day he picked the car up, actually he picked it up and we drove to a show together. I drove one of mine and he drove that, and we drove to a show together. And he looks me dead in the eyes. He goes, Ron, this is the nicest this car's ever going to look. Aww. Because I'm going to drive it.
Nice.
Okay.
I think that's awesome. I have a friend of mine who he spent a very long time saving the money to build his car. He ended up, when it all came down to it, what his dream car is a 55 Pro Touring car. So he absolutely loves this. It's like a Bel Air. Beautiful, beautiful car. But just like you said, like, he went through this whole process of having it built. It took years to do that. But now, like, that's what he does. He takes it to Good Guys stuff. He takes it to all kinds of shows all the time. Like, he's tagging me all the time because I did a whole shoot for him and we've got him in a magazine and all that stuff. But he was just like, this is just so much fun, right? Like, he just loves going to all the shows and showing off his car. And I just think that that's really cool that people embrace that side of the automotive industry, right? That there's like that big persona that thinks that, oh, well, you're just a bunch of gearheads who just wrench on stuff. But there is really a very large market of people who truly just love having a nice car and what it is and the effort that went into building it.
And taking it to shows, right? And the camaraderie and meeting people and showing off the work you did or what you had built.
Mm-hmm.
That's some of the best marketing too, is getting a car to the finish line and having somebody drive it a lot. I got a 34 coupe that I built for a guy, and he's got, what's he got? 7,000 miles on it. I think we finished it in like 17 or something. 27,000 miles. Drives it every chance he can, everywhere he can go, whatever. And he swings by all the time, and we've done other stuff for him too on another car. But he's like, I need more cards. I need more business cards. Because everybody asks me who painted this car, who put this together, who did that. He goes, and I'm just handing them out. That's
heck yeah.
Absolutely.
That's a great way to fill your pipeline, man.
And you know, these guys that do drive them, when we go to a show and we, you know, if we're paying for vendor space, we can only haul so many cars. If they're there, they're like, hey, you got a spot for me to park? I do. So
right? In the booth, man, for sure.
For sure.
You know, you've owned the business for like you said, 3 years you've been running, or when you changed the name?
3 years.
Can you tell us what success looks like when you kind of, if and when you ever says, hey, I made it, I got this, I made it work kind of thing?
Man, I don't know. Watching one of my guys buy a house, you know, I got other families that live off of this too, and knowing that they're able to do those things or buy a new truck, that's a good feeling.
That's awesome.
You know, I don't know. I guess if I'd say we're a success, I'd feel like I'm done. I'm not done. There's a long way to go yet. But definitely, you know, the getting accepted to SEMA 2 years in a row, like that's a big deal, I think. Yeah, little things like that.
I have to tell you, I think that is by far, of all the guests that we've had on our show, I think that is by far the coolest thing that anybody has ever said as it applies to where they measured where their success was. Is literally nobody has ever said, based off of people who work for me or with me, that, you know, I support their livelihood as well, that they were able to move to a next level in their life. Like, legit, man, like, hats off to you. I think that is the coolest thing I've ever heard anybody say, investment that you make in your people, because they will continue to invest in you.
Absolutely. That's awesome. That's the first time we've heard that for sure. And when you have that thought process, that mindset, right, people stay with you longer too, I'm sure, and dedicate themselves to the business and what they're doing.
Do this on our own, you know. You gotta have your team behind you. They need me behind them.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I just want to say it has been an absolute pleasure, personally, for me, getting to know more about you, kind of learning about your history, how you like took over your business, made it your own. I think that is some really cool stuff that you have, you know, been involved in, that you're active in your business. So thank you so much for being on the show, sharing your story, and giving us some really good insight into who you are as a character, and who you are as a business person. And again, I will repeat this because I think it's the coolest thing. I've never heard somebody say their success was measured off of how well their employees have done. And I just think that is so awesome. So legit cool thing.
Awesome. Thank you.
We wrap up every podcast with a speed round. And so the way that the speed round works is, if you listen to the show, you know what that is. Don't think too much about it. Just give me the first thing that comes off the top of your head. So our first question for you is, what is your favorite driver, team, hot rod, muscle car, or truck?
Dennis Anderson, Gravedigger.
Oh, yes. I love that. What is your favorite tool in your toolbox?
Air hammer.
I mean, it does involve a hammer, so I mean that's a
the
pretty
first
good
in
thing.
that we've had that
I
one.
like noisy stuff. I like noisy stuff.
That is a first. Do you have a favorite track, event, or show?
I don't have a favorite track. I used to do a road rally every year, and that would be my favorite event. I haven't been doing that one, but I like road rallies the best. So
That's awesome.
like what some people call them road tours. Yeah, that's my thing. That's what I really enjoy doing is driving, kind of outlawish.
Cool. Yeah.
I think that's really cool. And then this question stumps everybody, so don't feel like you're going to be ousted by any means. But what is the best advice you've ever received, and from whom?
Keep showing up. Jonathan Goolsby.
Nice. I love it. I love that a lot of people really kind of stumble with that question, myself included. And I love that you have something that you stand true to.
And that's pretty recent. And it was actually, I've only met the dude a couple of times, but that's what he said. He goes, do you want to stay in this market? He goes, keep showing up. Second, you don't show up, people are like, oh, they're out of business.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So that's another thing with going to the shows. Like, you just got to make yourself known. People got to know you're out there.
Yeah. You have to be willing to talk to other people, right? And not sit in your box and be like, it's cool, I'm just going to wait till somebody comes to me, because that doesn't happen.
Cool. Well,
very, very.
Ron, everybody, thanks for tuning in. Ron, thanks for joining us today. This was an awesome chat and conversation. And please tell us how people can find you, social media, your website, email, whatever, LinkedIn.
Sure. Website, northspeedrestoration.com. We're on Facebook, same thing. It's probably North Speed and Restoration on Facebook. Instagram, North Speed Restoration. Pretty basic. You search us, you're going to find us. LinkedIn is just Ron Hinshaw.
Nice. Love it. It's been super awesome getting to know you. And yeah, I just think that it's really cool what you do. Yay! How are you doing on all of your like winter stuff? Like, you guys are in the midst of cold season, or are you guys starting to feel some of the warmth?
I think it's over. So we're going to a show Friday, an indoor show, and usually it's snowy. I'm actually going to drive. I'm going to drive the show car from the north end of the Twin Cities to the south end of the show because it's nice enough out. So
is that pretty, like, this time of year, is that uncommon for you guys?
We usually get a couple like fake springs, and
right.
Now I think we're there. I don't think we're getting any more snow this year. Shouldn't say it because then it'll happen. This show, I've gone to this show, many years in it. Sometimes it's like 70 when we load the cars in, and 6 inches of snow when we load them out. So, it'll be. I think we're about done with it. It's time to start spring cleaning and getting it always gets the yard gets a little dirty over winter because you're not cleaning the same, whatever.
Oh yeah.
It's time for spring cleaning and get all the shop and the yard cleaned up, and we do an open house every year. That's on May 31st this year, and that's always the spring push to get the shop right back in order. Then we get on to like summer show season.
Nice. Well, I asked the question because like we're seeing like this really weird kind of shift in the weather, like, more of like, I come from the performance side of stuff. So like a lot of the racing that is happening back east, right? Like they're like, it's hot, like they're experiencing it, temperatures that they don't typically experience this time of year. And then on our side, like it's cold right now. Like for us, like we've had rain and we've had just a lot of overcast, and now we're starting to feel spring come in a bit more. So I'm wondering, like, how that is shifting across the United States, because it seems like that weather pattern is changing.
Yeah, we got our regular cold snaps that we always got. We just haven't been getting the snow that we used to get.
Yeah.
To the point of the last. I used to snowmobile a lot, and we always had to go, like, you got to go to the Upper Peninsula of Michigan to get good snow. We get enough to ride trails here, but not off trail deep stuff, wreck your sled on a tree stuff that we really like to do. I actually sold both our sleds here about 2-3 years ago, and I bought a side-by-side just
nice
so we can still get out and do trails and stuff, and use it for ice fishing and everything else.
And side-by-sides are fun.
You probably do a lot of ice fishing, but
Ron, I'm not a snowmobile guy, but this is the first winter in a long time that the snowmobiles could even get out around here. A week ago, we had a day it was 70. Tuesday it snowed and it was 23. So it's messed up, and the grass is, my wife's the lawn mowing person around here. So she's always looking out. We're going to have to get that mower out pretty soon because the lawn's starting to grow. And then next day it's 20 out. It's like, no, because we got branches and that, Ron knows this, after winter and before stuff starts greening up, it's just gray and ugly and dirty and just
brown, and the grass is super weak. So you drive across it and it rips it up. It gets muddy. It's gross.
Ron, thanks for being on. We've learned so much about you, and we can't wait for everybody to hear this episode. And as always, we appreciate you joining the Gearheads and Gasoline podcast, where we're fueling your success. We know you don't want to miss an episode, so don't forget to smash that bell so that you get notified of every new episode. Click that like button, leave us a comment, and share with your people. And visit us repeatedly. We love it.